The State Lottery Division, who issued the recommendation today. Director Gordon Medenica joins us in the studio tonight. Thanks very much for your time.
Nice to be here.
Thank you. Nice to have you. So, okay, this is like the culmination of this insanely long process that I thought actually started in 2007, but some are arguing started in 2001.
There have been so many processes in the past. I'm not even sure what the right count is. Some people say there have been 5 attempts, whatever. But this is the first time that it's just been given to the lottery to conduct in the same way as a state procurement process. And we had requested to do that one iteration before, but we were not taken up on our offer. So this time it was just decided, let's take the politics out of this. Let's give it to the lottery. It's our business anyway. We'll run it once it gets up and going anyway.
Right.
And let us choose a vendor like we choose other vendors that the lottery uses.
Well, you'll run it? I thought that the contract was to develop and run the Racino.
Well, you know, there's a little confusion about how the New York VLT system works. We actually provide the central system and the machines through other vendor contracts. So the gaming floor and the gaming operation is actually run by the lottery. But in terms of the whole facility and everything else and the marketing that goes with it, that's the role of the operator. And of course, the construction management is the role of the operator as well.
So you were actually, in this letter in which you recommended Genting, New York, it was quite laudatory, actually. I mean, you talked about impressive on many levels, proposal far superior, of course, the only proposal left standing. We should say all the other bidders were
We've seen a lot of proposals over the
yes,
years, so and we have a lot of things to compare it with. And you know, when we first got in the final bids from the 3 bidders, and obviously we immediately recognized the problem with 2 of them, and we decided to not even look at the Genting proposal until we made the decision on the 2 that we had to disqualify for being non-conforming. But once that had been done, and then we decided we'll continue right on the process exactly as we laid it out all along to all of the potential bidders. And frankly, we were stunned by the quality of the proposal, and it just blew everyone's socks off.
Okay, is the $380 million, which is actually more than any other bidder had offered, in hand with the state right now? Because the state could really use the money.
They sure could. No, it won't happen until 10 days after all of the signatories sign the MOU. Genting has signed everything, and that was a critical piece, and in fact it's the piece that eliminated the other 2 bidders. But once the governor, who's already committed to accepting our recommendation, and the legislative heads sign it, then it has to go through the approval of the Attorney General and the State Controller. When that happens, 10 days later, $380 million is due to the state.
Well, this is therein lies the rub, right? Because we don't know, and in fact, we have sort of these non-committal, we'll look at it from the legislative leaders. And this process actually was put in place, officially we were talking about the first RFP, the way it was originally supposed to work, under a governor and a then Senate Majority Leader, that's Eliot Spitzer and Joe Bruno, who just hated each other.
And it was never an RFP.
Right.
It was just a process, and really the flaws in that process is that there was no process.
Well, you're
and
saying
it was
that
very,
you professionalized it. That's your argument,
exactly.
Right? Yeah. That you took out the politics. Now, the problem is that you have a situation where, let's see, I don't even know, 2 investigations at the State Inspector General's office and also the U.S. Attorney's office investigating Aqueduct Entertainment Group, which actually got this and then had it yanked out from them, subsequently started this new process. They
never really got it. They were selected as a potential winner and obviously didn't come up to snuff on licensing issues.
Right.
But there was never a contract. There was never an MOU signed. And that was one of the flaws in the process back then, is that the MOU was subject to negotiation even after the selection of the first vendor, if you will, or the vendor to be negotiated with.
So how will these investigations impact Genting going forward, if at all?
I don't think they will, because they affect frankly, the discredited process that we've already gone past. Now, AEG or AEC, whoever they are now, because the constituents of that consortium have changed.
Well, a number of people dropped off. For example, Floyd Flake, who is a very influential Queens minister, and part of this was that they were too politically connected, right? And that might have been a point where the governor had a discussion with Floyd Flake about an endorsement. It just all got to be a mess.
And that really played almost no role in the lottery's decision about licensing, because the fundamental problem with the AEG bid originally was with the original organizer, an Irishman by the name of Carl O'Farrell, who we had already discredited in the round before that when he had a company called Capital Play.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh.
I'm sorry.
It's really
so Carl O'Farrell was Capital Play. We investigated him, decided he wasn't eligible for a video lottery license. We got the IG to concur with that opinion, and we told Capital Play that they had to eliminate Carl O'Farrell from the consortium, which they did. They didn't win that round anyway. That was the Delaware North round. Then we get into this round, and we find that Carl O'Farrell has reappeared, this time in the guise of AEG. So we went through the same process of demanding that Carl O'Farrell be eliminated from AEG. And there were issues where we felt that they weren't being totally open and honest with us.
Well, now AEC, which is the reconstituted AEG, today says, well, we tried to sue you, actually, sue you and the legislative leaders to block this from going forward, the awarding. Today, you say, we recommend Genting. Now the legislative leaders have to sign off on the MOU, et cetera. As we've been through. These guys now say, AEC, we're going to appeal the court decision. We're still going to try to get an injunction. Will that prevent this from going forward? It could.
Anybody can sue anybody. Whether it'll prevent it from going forward, I think, is a separate question.
Is there, this is a very sort of general question, but is there something about the business of gambling that makes it inherently difficult, that brings
I don't
to
think
the
so,
point?
other than the fact that it's a tremendously successful business, and you know, obviously players and consumers enjoy playing. Right now, New Yorkers have to go to Connecticut or New Jersey or Pennsylvania, and this is a way to keep those dollars back in New York. So it's just a really successful business, and I would say that the business people involved are really not the problem. It's the lack of process and the difficulty in awarding a substantially valuable contract in a very politicized environment.
So when then, your best guess, might the first coin go into the first VLT machine at Aqueduct? We
think since they'll be opening in phases, and they could have a portion of the gaming floor open within 6 to 9 months after construction begins. But when all the approvals and the signatures happen, we hope that'll be just a matter of days. But again, I think your judgment's as good as ours on that one.
And I have no idea. So when this happens, we will have you back. Mr. Medenica, I really want to thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome. It's nice to be here.